Hey everybody, in this episode of the Legends of Tomorrow After Show, we're breaking down Season 3, Episode 2, Freakshow. We've got hangovers, shrink rays, a totem out of control, and of course, Billy Zane. Let's do it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Like me, it's going insane. Insane in the membrane.
I like Lex's face, like, what is happening?
It's unexpected.
Really? Come on.
It's a big energy shift in the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Legends of Tomorrow After Show. This is a show, of course, so we're bringing on everything you ever wanted to know, and we're afraid to ask about the Legends of Tomorrow. Season 3 airing live now on Tuesday nights on the CW. I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie.
Oh, I'm Dave Child. You can find me at MrDaveChild or DaveChild.com. I'm Dave Child.
I am Lex Michael. I am all over social media at the Lex Michael.
And I'm Lucretia Lyon, guys. You can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
And of course, folks, you can like us on Facebook. Give us those 5 stars on iTunes. The one, the only, the incomparable Lex Michael needs those to live. So make sure you're doing that on a regular basis.
He's dying.
There was,
I feel faint, you guys.
That's right. And of course, feel free to hop in the chat room. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Lucretia's got her computer up and running, which means that you can chime away and share your thoughts about this episode in particular, or just Legends of Tomorrow in general. Just whatever kind of thoughts you become.
Or whatever you just want to talk about.
There you go. Or just, your favorite Cypress Hill song, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Of all of the ouvra.
Yes.
Of all the Cypress Hill ouvra.
I could name you this. I could not name you anything else.
Dr. Green Thumb.
Oh.
Oh.
We got a
Ding, ding,
super
ding.
fan. We got a Cyp head over here.
And Luna Malfoy, 7 in the chat, said they would have expected Circus by Britney Spears be our song. Well, I
so
honestly
sorry.
was not familiar with that one, and I should be, right?
I like how it's
I was like,
I feel like of the four of
How
us.
dare you not
Yeah.
play Circus by Britney Spears?
And maybe we would have, but when you bring Billy Zane to a party,
know.
I think he trumps all.
yeah.
I mean, you got to Billy Zane it.
Yes, that's
He
true.
was my favorite character in Titanic.
Yeah. Oh, there was two
Two
Titanic.
Titanicers.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Wait, he was your favorite
He was?
character?
Yeah,
in
he's
Titanic?
like, screw Leonardo DiCaprio, and that was me too. I was like, I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm with this guy.
You wanted Rose to get with Billy
No, I just
Zane.
wanted him to win at the end, and he does. He lives.
Isn't he the bad guy?
Yeah, I watch
Yeah.
movies wrong, apparently.
That's
Okay, cool.
Like,
like-
I don't know if you can say he lives when the actual person, I believe, killed themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Because
Well, in the movie, he gets off the boat because he's like, yeah, that's my kid.
Because
That
I
guy's
guess what
smart.
the epilogue is that he kills himself during the stock market crash. Isn't that the deal?
Right.
It's been a long
Yeah.
time since I've seen
Good Lord.
Titanic.
Yeah. So guys, welcome to the Titanic after show.
Yeah, well,
We're just gonna start talking about that movie without any kind of knowledge or familiarity with it.
Nice way to break the ice, guys.
So
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
it's never gonna get better for Dave Child right now. That's it.
That was just the tip. Okay.
So starting off this episode, we do a jump back in time because the whole question last episode was, oh, what happened to Amaya and Nate
happened to
specifically?
Amaya?
Yes.
And we get a little inkling about what that was. So
Yes. Well, she
Donuts.
saw some news footage of Vixen 2017.
Yep, I had a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, you sure did.
Sure did.
Your face dropped early and
Yes.
hung there for the rest of the night.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's early, and yet we've got.
don't worry, guys. The shipment came in, and
Yes.
it's a big one.
Yeah, plenty of beef coming your
It's a
way
lot
this
of beef.
episode. That's right.
So, what was your issue with that?
It wasn't in that shot in that scene in particular, but later on in the episode. That when
You bring it up now.
yeah, all right. Well, the big deal is when they need to go when of course they can never do their mission perfectly right out of the gate. Of course, because they're legends, they're misfits, they're freaks, they're outcasts. So
Yeah.
they mess up
Part
getting
of the freak show now.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
They you mishandle getting the saber-tooth tiger, and so they need somebody that has a background in animals.
I love that.
Yes.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes.
Because I just love that moment where she's like, we're having trouble with an animal. If only we knew someone who was good with animals. Whoa! And it's just, it's an animal.
Yeah,
Just
not for
get-
nothing.
you'll
Like
be-
Ray hung out with dinosaurs.
Yeah,
for
that
how
was
long?
my thing, is Ray lived in the prehistoric times.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I really agreed with Nate where it was like, let's give him allergy medicine and go back. out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. I mean, all that Amaya did was like, calm down. That was it. That was like all that Amaya
But
did.
Frank, while this was going on, you wrote in really big letters on
Yes.
your notes and
Yes.
displayed them to the
Yes.
rest of us. What about 2017 Vixen?
Yes. Because if the big deal is that the reason Amaya's back there is because she has something to do, she's kind of needs to be there in time because she needs to be able to pass on the legacy of the
Right.
Vixen totem to
Yes.
Mari, who has it in the present day. So if that's the issue there, why not just go, hey, that's great, Amaya. We know she's your friend. We know she's our friend. She can help us out, but she has a destiny to fulfill.
Yes.
Let's just go to 2017, get Mari. She knows what the deal is. We can tell her about the legends. Bring her.
Oh, that's what you wanted.
Yeah, why not just...
Well, what did you think he meant?
They don't know Mari.
That was my thought as well. It's like, well, we want to get the band back together.
Yeah.
yeah,
but
they
you
wanted
also-
their friend back.
But
well, they want your
now
friend
she's
back,
kind of
but
Yoko.
she also has a reason that she needs to be back in 1942 that they've pretty much said, like, I need to be
Yeah.
back there.
But they also have a time machine.
True.
They can bring her back at any point.
Well, so this is something that I did start to think about, though, at that point in the story. Wouldn't she, even if she's traveling through time and they could drop her back at any point in the timeline, doesn't she still age? Right? So, like,
True.
if she, was,
Yes.
if she was traveling through time for another 70 years and she goes back to the exact same spot in the timeline she left, but she's now 70 years older?
She wouldn't be able to have a child at that point, which would then also ruin time.
Yeah, and the chat brings up a good point. Vidar DJ 16 Starkill, love that name, says like, yeah, Ray met 2017 Vixen Mari.
Yeah.
So he would have at least known her.
But it's not like
Yeah.
they have a requirement to get
No.
one animal-based like superhero in the Wave Rider or anything.
Yeah, well, true. I mean, and I certainly know in real world reasons that, she's, on contract for the show. So, of course, we're going to find a way to bring this actor back.
Yeah.
So understand that. But just within the universe of the show, you've already gone through once where you've killed her. She's died on her mission. You've gone back to fix it and have ended up creating all these anachronisms that you're dealing with. So now when you have a chance to kind of repair these, why put yourself in the potential situation again where she could be
Yeah.
killed and that's in another mission and time could fracture all over again? Why not just go to 2017, grab that Vixen, and then bring her on
But
the
that's their whole deal, though. Like
'Cause
that's
they're
their
misfits and
entire
freaks.
their entire MO is the exact
Misfits.
Right, it's the exact inverse of what you're describing.
I do like that every bit of beef that I'll be bringing to the table can be waged where it's like, they're misfits and freaks.
Yeah.
That's it.
You
There you
see,
go.
in this episode, they fight freaks, but in the next episode, they're going to fight some misfits.
Well, one thing, speaking of freaks, is I was so a little annoyed with all the little references when even they say, you're one of us. They didn't go, one of us, one of
Yeah,
us.
there was no one of us.
I was like, that is the obvious reference here.
I
No.
also kept getting distracted because I think there was a moment where you saw all the freaks and they were all hanging out, and then there was this one guy who seems like his whole freakish MO is that he's shirtless all the time.
Yeah.
He was just there and being like the bearded lady, P.T. Barnum,
The dude pretending to be a
shirtless dude.
Cro-Magnon.
No.
Yeah, I guess there's that guy who later came back as like I think a clown.
Yeah,
But the
what a
shirtless
freak!
guy.
Yeah, what a freak! He's shirtless all the
Oh
time.
my God, he doesn't like shirts. He can't wear a shirt.
There's no way he could function in regular society, folks. He needs to be in a circus.
He would be refused service everywhere.
Yeah.
That's true. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's no
No
service.
restaurant he could eat at.
I just want one place. Falls in love with a woman that never wears shoes. And that's how that's a whole new love story.
It's so sweet.
Vidar brings up another good point in the chat. Isn't it funny how these circus people shut down the legends better than any of the supervillains?
Yep, took him out one by one.
Really fast. I love Billy Zane in this though.
He's
'cause
excellent.
Yeah.
He's like he really sunk his teeth into this.
There were moments where I felt shades of Nicholson's Joker performance, and not as far as how big and bright and over the top he was getting physically, but in his delivery of certain lines.
Well, it just felt like he actually acted.
Yeah.
Well, like because we've had like Jonah Hex show up in the past, and he kind of felt like they maybe didn't cast the greatest guy for that. And this was all the lines in the P.T. Barnum stuff. It could have been delivered very, I don't know, like not very well, and you just see like Billy Zane really sink his teeth and use all of his Billy Zane-ness, and it made me wonder where has he been this entire time.
Well, and it's not that the episode felt lifeless when he wasn't on screen, but every time he was in a scene, the energy of the entire thing got amped way, way, way up.
So he's a good choice for P.T. Barnum, who's supposed to be a charismatic guy anyways.
Yeah, and I liked him like workshopping his intro line for the.
Because he hadn't met Bailey yet,
Yes.
presumably.
No, I guess it was just P.T. Barnum and his sideshows.
To me, that also read as like they couldn't get the rights to the greatest show on Earth. They had to be like greatest show on the planet. That's how they skip by all those copyright laws. That's what it read to me.
But even like that moment at the end where he almost is killed, and then immediately just snaps into like, "Hey guys, look at what I promised you a fantastic show.
Yeah.
What do we have?" I thought that was some really nice acting by him in that.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of this episode. Was just Billy Zane being Billy Zane. But the chat brings up a good point here. Nate Milton and Renji909998 pulled up something that you also did. Was the shirtless guy bootleg B Bwana Beast?
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
In fact, we have a photo right here on the screen. I noticed that while we saw him there as Nate was tied up on the wheel.
Ooh, yeah.
We got to see the I believe it's a shirtless dude. Yeah, when he puts in full gear.
I think the shirtless
It
dude
looked
is
just
him
like
without
him,
the
yeah.
mask.
Just puts on that.
Well, he
sweet
had at
Bwana
one
Beast.
point, he had a mask near the end of the
He
episode.
did, yeah. So
Yeah.
he was this.
So yeah, good old Bwana Beast. And
Bwana Beast? Who is this
Where?
guy?
What is the
he can
origin
take
point?
he can take two animals and then merge them into one, kind of make like a hybrid.
So,
Wait.
like, gene splicing?
So he's
Yeah.
like, he makes cat dogs everywhere
Yeah.
he
He could.
goes?
It doesn't have to be cat dogs. He's in the jungle. It's not always cat dogs.
But it's...
So, like,
That's his power! Is he takes an animal and another animal and goes,
Snake Panther.
Yeah.
Snake Panther.
That's
So
right.
a pig and an elephant's DNA really could splice. This is actually the second time I've made that weird joke today.
So
I
wait,
should be proud of that.
does the weird hybrid brundlefly that he creates, is that at least something that is under his control, or is it like
Just, it's on the loose now.
yeah, elephant snake? Ah! Has to run away from
I
it.
gotta go.
This is terrible.
Yeah. He uses it for whatever might be needed, and then he can separate them back into their own respective bodies and send them back on their way.
But how does he do this? Is it just what is the in-story explanation? Is it just magic? Is it some strange nanotechnology?
No, it's
It's nude magic. He has to be nude in order to
That's
do
why he
it.
doesn't wear the shirt.
Yeah.
because much like Vixen and her totem, the power of the Bwana Beast is kind of passed down from somebody else to another. So it's you pass down the abilities of Bwana Beast. There always needs to be.
The ceremony is just taking off the shirt of the next.
That's right. You are now Bwana Beast.
It's your turn, son. You can never wear a shirt again.
But so who is Bwana Beast ordinarily in opposition to?
Napoleon died.
Because he's like in the Congo, he's dealing with all those things. So poachers, whatever kind of wild stuff. I mean, like Tarzan the Ape Man, he got into a lot of
Okay, so
misadventures.
he's not a foil for a member of like the DC pantheon of characters necessarily. He's just going on his own adventures, fighting poachers and whatnot.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, he's great in
It's
the
a guy who
60s.
splits up animals into two separate halves.
Wait, does his so like if he just took an elephant, could he take the elephant and split the elephant into two individual component
Like
parts?
a sperm and an egg?
Well, that's
Maybe.
that would be it.
Oh.
That's what the villain does. I was expecting like just literally saws animals in half, but he's like, I'm the heifer. Such a good foil.
And I'm like, is this what happened to like the Minotaur and things like that? Just Bwana Man was like, nope.
Bwana Man's, this will be funny. Bye, Chigrease.
It is
You've
a
been Bwana.
sacred responsibility, guys. It's
Okay.
not fun to be. We're not gonna make it light of this, please.
Hey, it's this episode that just made him the shirtless dude in the
I
corner.
know, it's a shame.
He
isn't it?
inspired Napoleon Dynamite later.
But he's got some great adventures there in the 60s, and even Grant Morrison used him in his Animal Man series when he wrote that. Coming for a couple of issues.
That makes a lot of sense.
And he was also in Batman Brave and the Bold, the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he does the big fight at the end of the season where, things don't go his way. He sacrifices himself.
Frank might have the beef, but he's also got the deep cuts.
Oh, look at that.
Ugh.
Frank Moran.
Oh, one other thing to talk about this episode at the beginning, we see Ray. He says, I use all the Time Bureau's technology to kind of make sure that we could use it for our purposes as well, too, to find, like, anachronisms. And I thought, like, wasn't Gideon, like, doing a good job of finding anachronisms before, like, last season?
Yeah, but now they've
No.
got this really cool visual that they
With
can that
dots.
looks super expensive
Gotcha.
and nice.
Yeah.
No, we did that. So, all right.
It's a little bit of
Got
added
the
added
little
spectacle
dots.
for your value. For your
I like how he made. Wait, how did he make a shrink ray using the technology from the Swipe app? Oh, because they were talking about making it smaller
Yes.
and like more condensed. Okay, all right, I answered my own question because I just pictured it being like, I swipe left to make you tiny and swipe right to make you big, but that's not quite how it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
guess
a
the only
metaphor.
swiping was just on the control panel, I guess.
Yeah,
Nothing,
because he
right?
said like instead of focusing on this, let's make our phones really tiny.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was focused on.
But that tech guru did not want to hear Ray's
No,
thoughts.
didn't want it. I like the shrink ray. I'm glad he has like more shrink-based powers because one of the things I didn't like that I always felt was lacking from Ray in previous seasons is that they just kind of turned him into Iron Man. Like he just kind of
Yeah.
became a guy in a robot suit.
And there are a lot of different, there's a range of possibilities when you've got that specific skill set and
Yeah.
you've got the technological know-how to presumably expand upon that skill set. But yeah,
Right.
like they turned him into Iron Man, but Iron Man's tech seems to evolve with every movie, and Ray's has been fairly stagnant for a little bit.
Yeah, and glitchy. And at least in this one, even though I think you got some beef with it, but at least in this one, when he messed up, it was because he sneezed and not because something went wrong with the tech. I was glad to see that.
Well, let's get into that. So, of course, they go down to the circus to find this anachronism, which turns out to be a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
That PT spent his last greenback on just to get there. And so they go in to find it, and Ray's going to use a shrink ray. Sounds great. Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
But he also says, oh, I'm allergic to cats, too. He starts sneezing
Oh,
around
no.
it. But what I didn't, so he's trying to set it up. He goes, I got to do a lot of calculations, because it's one thing to shrink a vase as opposed to shrinking a saber-toothed tiger.
He's got to know what gender it is. He's
Yeah.
got to know the birth date.
Yes.
These
so
were important factors.
rather
Important
than
factors.
waiting to give this guy a moment to get set up and just like, hey, yeah, let's just take all this into account and then shoot it, you get
They're
Nate
like,
just,
no, we just open it up.
let's just open it up, the door, let's just open this right up. And so then Nate gets the ball rolling too fast. Ray gets all kind of like nervous and
What a
shoots.
bunch of misfits.
Yeah. I mean,
Now it's Beef Stew Electric
Hang on.
Boogaloo.
Take it off.
Ooh, they're just freaks and misfits. If only they were
Yep.
heroes, they would know what to do. But them
Nope.
being a bunch of
That's
freaks
true.
and misfits, it gets in the way. It's like they're a chainsaw instead of a scalpel.
Ah, yes. So,
boy.
of course, the saber-tooth gets out. They need to go get the Vixen. We've talked about that. But we see, once we find out Amaya's back on the ship, it doesn't go well with Nate.
No.
No, but and why would it? I actually felt really bad for Nate.
I know.
No
it's
one
like,
prepped
damn.
him for this at all.
No one prepped him, and also, she really left him on his
His
birthday
yeah.
without any really. She saw on the news. She's been seeing Vixen. Like, she
Yeah.
knows that Vixen's around, right?
Right.
And it just sees it on the news once and was like, yeah, now's a good time to leave.
Yeah, it seemed like the worst.
Not even
possible
leave a
time to-
note.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know she said, like, you had to hate me in order for me to go because I have to be a bad guy. And that's, granted, that's a part of every breakup, is there has to be that moment where you're not friends anymore. You have to hate each other. Real talk, guys. But I still felt like it was way too soon. It should have at least been, I have to go. I can't tell you why. Goodbye. It should have at least been something like that.
But also, not for nothing, this is an instance where they have a time machine, to me, comes into play, because even if she has to go back to her timeline indefinitely, couldn't you just, whenever you wanted to have dinner or just something, just jump back to either one way or the other, right? You could even cohabitate for extended periods of time as long as you occasionally check back in with your own point on the
I
timeline.
also understand with the like, oh, listen, it's time. I feel like maybe I'm getting the urge to go. Let's just have one more night, and it's your birthday, and I can Vixen it up real good, and then I can head out.
Yeah.
At least that.
Because I felt like there's a lot of premeditation in this. Because when Nate has not gone that long to get these donuts, but when he comes back, the place is deserted, everything's been packed up, and so to her tell the story later, she went to Detroit. So from Central City down to Detroit.
Didn't even leave.
No, she packed everything up,
And
then
went
drove
to
to Detroit,
Detroit.
and then decided, oh, I guess I should go back down now.
And that was the first time that she saw Vixen.
Yes.
Was like, I know it's your birthday. I'm making donuts, but the news. I gotta go.
Dave, she saved 5 people in one night.
Yeah, the Detroit Vixen did. And she's like, I saw that she saved 5 people in one night, so I
She was
decided to
perfect.
abandon you forever. That was just my overnight bag that had everything for one Detroit. And I thought I would just check it out, see how it's going. You were getting donuts. wanted to make a quick trip to Detroit and then come back and whoop.
Yep. Now, but also the other thing too, if you came back and it was your birthday and your significant other was making you donuts,
Yeah.
wouldn't you let that person just? I mean,
Make
they went
the
out there.
donuts.
Yes.
She made you donuts from scratch. You don't go, that's not how they do it in
You're-
2007.
Yeah, it's like,
You're so
oh, we get
dismissive.
these crappy. I mean, I love those crappy little chocolate donuts too, but you know, if
But
someone's gonna
handmade
make you,
donuts are
yeah,
far better.
oh yeah,
You have to fry those things.
yeah, it takes a lot of work.
That's a
Yeah, I was so dismissive of that. I was like, come on.
You know what? They both had it good, and they didn't even realize it. They were both like, seriously, like they both should have realized how good it was.
That's
Oh,
true. And
speaking of good, Dave Child, you have a fan in the chat. For Music says, Mr. Dave Child has inspired me to not shave my beard either. It's amazing. Changing lives there,
Enjoy
Dave.
it. It's my animal side coming out.
It's heating the room.
Yeah, it's a beautiful beard, much like the bearded lady. I got a beard.
And the last thing about it too is that poor rug is probably stained with all that batter being dumped all over it. We never really addressed that either. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Before we move on,
I just need to
sorry
get shout
about
out.
how that rug was stained.
Well,
Every episode, you have to talk about how many stains are in the episode, how many rugs are ruined.
So of course, when Amaya shows up, Nate is inconsolable, understandably so. So he goes
Yeah.
to the bar and starts knocking a bunch back.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Gets very drunk and then outs himself as a steel person in front of the entire bar,
Yeah, man.
which is not, as I understand the concept, a strategically sound decision.
I understand. You know what? It's fine if you want to out yourself as a steel person, but don't out your buddies.
Right.
Yeah.
There you
know?
go.
That's where it gets really bad.
And the thing is, if you just start talking about that type of thing to people at the bar when you're not all steeled up, they'll go, ha, this guy's funny. But once you're a metal person, then they're probably more inclined to take you at your word and then kidnap your friends.
But at the same time, it's like I also felt, I mean, they're talking to circus people. What are they gonna do? Really successfully kidnap them after this? I doubt it.
Turns out.
And then they did.
Yes. But also, if you were back in the past, in the late 1860s or whatever, would you want to pull out your cell phone? I mean, I can understand Nate because he's drunk, but
They won't
like,
know what it is. They won't know what it is. They'll see like a weird box in their hands.
yeah, maybe he wants to take some pictures.
I wouldn't be like, hey, look at that future box. Look at the future. Look what I'm doing. I think they'll be like, that guy is looking at his notepad real weird, or look at that weird box in someone's hands. They're not going to be like, phone, computer, future. Oh, kidnap him.
That's true. But don't you want to see that one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
so yeah, our circus folk, they get to drop on Jackson Ray very easily.
Yeah. They really believe that, you know, there was that nice scene where Billy Zane explained, like, this is why I actually think you have powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, they also can't do it.
But I also think, I mean, certainly, I guess that plays up to all the preconceptions that everybody have about the circus. Like, you run away, you join the circus, and they kidnap you, and they take you away forever. I always feel like, what's PT's endgame? Like, he's just basically, it's like, you know.
Running away and joining the circus,
That's
but
like
the
the
kidnapping
fancy, yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I didn't
is
realize
not-
they
really?
kidnapped
They
you.
do,
I thought,
guys.
I think that's
They
just
do.
I think that's a nightmare on your part.
We're learning
No,
so
yes,
much
really
about
happens.
Frank
Yeah.
this hour.
This happens. You
That's
go to
how
the
Frank
circus, they'll
got that
kidnap you
way.
forever. Don't go to the circus, you guys.
That explains the
does.
look on his face the entire episode,
Yeah.
though, for sure.
It was a little kidnappy.
My
but-
dad went to the circus, and I've never seen him since.
Yeah, that's why your dad never came back.
Yeah.
'Cause of
That's
the
exactly-
They kidnap you at the circus. I've never been able to find my dad.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Moving on.
Yeah, Jared Scoggin brings up a good point in the chat. But why did Jackson Ray go to that party? Are they that desperate?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't have anyone.
Yeah.
They're not that. And Ray definitely
Yeah.
is going to be looking to hook up wherever he can because he's very unsuccessful in love.
But he's adorable. I don't get it. He's like the Chuck of this show.
You had me at
Yeah.
circus.
I don't know. Yeah, that was one of my favorite lines. So.
We also, of course, we can't have the saber-toothed tiger stay successfully contained when Sarah and Maya catch it. We have to have it brought back to the Wave Rider, and then Mick, of course, lets it out.
Rory, you could just put the meat through the bars.
that was it.
Just put it through the bars. Don't let the cat out.
No.
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 If only they knew how to deal with animals like Vixen.
Yeah.
If Vixen was there, she wouldn't have opened it because she knows how to deal with animals.
Have none of these people ever had pets? Because that's how you deal with
No.
them. I had to take my cat on a plane once. Do you think that I opened her cage? No, I put
be-
food in there.
To be fair, if Mick had an
Yeah.
animal at any time, I don't think it survived very long.
Yeah,
I think he's not one to have animals.
yeah. Like I don't have plants.
I also want to understand the timeline because Ray sets up that this shrink ray works for 1 hour. Shrink something.
No, 24
24
hours.
24, 26,
Yeah, yeah.
24. I thought it was 1 hour. So
Yeah,
my
Pay
fault.
attention, Frank.
Also,
Sorry, I was too my dad's gone, guys.
Okay, all right.
My dad is gone.
Bringing up the dad thing all the time.
not for nothing, that tiny saber-toothed tiger was adorable.
Yeah.
It was.
I kind of wish they just kept a tiny saber-toothed
Like the
tiger.
little
I think it
mascot
needs-
on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Snart from Thundercats.
Yeah. Oh, right? I don't know.
That's a different show.
That's a different one.
So then I will still submit to the timeline though, because 24 hours it should enlarge at nighttime the following night, because that's when they captured it at
Oh
night.
my god.
And then it comes out in the middle of the day.
Watch.
Sorry guys, that was like 12 hours at best.
They're misfits.
Well, Ray is not very good. You know, maybe it was a female tiger and it took longer. I don't know. I mean, Ray didn't calculate all the gender, the weight, the age. You know.
Also, it's on a time machine. Maybe
Yeah.
time's funky on the time machine. Speeds it up, slows it down.
Fine, I understand. All right. One other thing we learned about our legends, though, our resident misfits, is that Mick is intensely terrified of Pennywise the clown.
Yes.
Specifically Pennywise,
Yeah.
too,
I
it
think
seems.
Pennywise. I think he watched the original It and was scared by it.
It was pretty
Makes sense.
scary.
Sure.
So he has to overcome his clown phobia.
Clown fear.
Which he does at the end after we
Yeah.
get to see Stein trying to figure a way to save the day. Decides to disguise himself as a clown.
Now we know why Victor Garber is like, I'm good.
yeah.
No, he
Which
did look
did, though-
adorable in his clown makeup, but
In hindsight, it didn't seem like there was any real reason he had to dress up like a clown.
Yeah.
I definitely. One thing I like about his character is I feel like whenever he could be like, oh, like,
Yeah.
whenever he could
Yeah.
be theatrical, he is
He's
theatrical.
He fully embraces
Yeah.
it, right? But I mean, there was no real practical reason, no strategic reason in
No.
hindsight. Like that plan could have gone exactly the
He
same
really
way,
just
whatever he
wanted-
was.
Yeah, he wanted to make balloon animals and like show it off.
and once you've made balloon animals on this show, I think that you're just done. I mean, there's no hierarchy than that. And-
That is something I don't know if all the viewers know. This might be a bit of a spoiler, but for future episodes. But Vincent Garber said that he's
Vincent?
yeah.
what's his name?
Victor.
He's great.
Victor
Victor
Garber.
Garber. Victor Garber. I don't know why I said Vincent. I'm completely drunk. No, not at all. But he talked about how he's not returning to the show.
Yeah.
So
He's not. He's
Yeah.
leaving.
I'm not sure, but at some
Yeah.
point this season he will be written out somehow.
And
we have
heading to
no.
Broadway.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, Broadway calls, baby.
forget off
Yes.
the top of my head what he's.
Is
doing.
Chorus Line or Showboat? One of those two.
I thought it was like hell. I don't
Hello,
know.
I think it's Hello Dolly, yeah.
Dolly, that was it.
Dolly, yeah.
Okay.
Brianna, you know these. Back there.
So anyway, yeah, he is heading back to Broadway, so they're going to be writing him out somehow. We have no idea at this point how that's going to play out. We don't know if they're going to kill his character in
I
some
wonder
way.
if he's just
going to
absorb them.
I kind of
maybe.
think that maybe we had a permanent, sort of a foreshadowing with his daughter. Maybe him just wanting to spend time with her. I'd like him to have a nice little time.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it could also. I kind of pictured maybe he absorbs them, and maybe we'll get his voice every now and then, because it's pretty easy to just do voiceover for a role, even while you're on Broadway. But he said that he's leaving, so maybe not.
Right, and if that's the case, and Stein is completely going to be a non-presence for the most part going forward, then what does that mean for Jax and trying
Yeah.
to prop up half of Firestorm? Does he now have to find another partner that
He
is
has to
compatible?
roofie a new
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah,
Well, he was the one that roofied.
I know.
The roofied becomes the roofer.
it's that cycle, and he's just going to start going to parties.
Vicious.
Oh, that's vicious
man.
cycle.
On another note, Star Drew, I want to give you a shout out for that awesome pun there. Don't let the cat out of the bag. Yeah.
Nicely
Yeah.
done,
That
Star
was good.
Drew. Yes.
Although it wasn't a cage, not a
Yeah.
bag.
Oh, so points
Oh.
points
I
deducted,
mean-
Star Drew, I guess. Or Dave Child, very tough, very tough judge.
I was saying,
lost
I'm gonna
the viewer.
continue drinking my water.
So we, Nate and Amaya, they go try to rescue Jax and Jax and Ray, who, when PT finds out they really can't do their abilities because they don't have Martin and they don't have his exosuit, says, "I'll just make you conjoined twins."
I just love that he had the conjoined twin outfit, and he's like, I just need 2 people.
Well,
2 more people so I could use this outfit. Okay, these guys will do. And I think he's hoping to draw out the people with real superpowers.
And I felt it wasn't a really good suit because when they were actually doing that bit,
It was just
you could see the hands in the back. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, this is not good, PT.
But I mean, conjoined twins, I think they were conjoined down here, and then they just had to do this because they're too close.
I guess, yeah. I just, let's just get full fused so we can just have.
Yeah, man.
We need the Beast guy.
Bwana Beast.
Bwana Beast.
yeah.
Put those
Beast.
two
Fuse
guys
them together.
Yep. See?
Bwana Beast?
Bwana Beast. Look at
So,
that.
Bwana Beast?
Frank, were you not at all impressed by the second or two of tandem juggling that we got?
Was I supposed to be? I was like, I really applaud that juggling.
Were you not? You're not blown away?
I know that you, with your juggling blog that you run, you're going to be breaking all this down.
Oh yeah, it was 1 second,
No.
but within that 1 second is hours of information to
Frank,
dissect.
Frank, you don't understand what juggalo actually means.
Oh wait,
No.
When Lex is a juggalo, so it's a different blog.
Clowns.
And they
sharp
Just
teeth.
clowns.
they discriminate
teeth.
against your people. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm
That's so
sorry
sad.
about this.
No.
Yeah, bringing up the
Yeah.
fear of clowns in this one. It's just
Yeah.
terrible.
Okay, apparently
Move on.
Dave and I are the only one on this page.
No, I'm with you. You get your clown posse.
Yeah, you got your clown
Yeah.
posse, and they misrepresent them and it and all these things. So I just
Right,
wanna-
that's right. This is an issue episode.
Yeah.
That's
I
yes.
love getting you
That's-
lost in a cloud of sand.
Clown, and they're in a group,
Yep.
and they're unwell.
Look up Insane Clown Posse when you get home.
No, I know what
then you'll know
I know
about
what
this
ICP
fun.
is. Of
course
yeah.
you do.
Who
Yeah.
doesn't?
I've
Yeah,
Who
of
doesn't?
course you do, sweetie.
Yeah.
Low key, they're all me.
That's right. He's not outing himself in public that he's ICP strong. Yes.
Right.
We also to find out that Nate, if he's dehydrated, can't steal up.
Yep. That's a new kryptonite for him. just dry him out. If you dry him out, he can't steal up.
Yep.
Oh,
So I
man.
wonder how that's going to come back in the crossover, in the big 4-part, 2-hour, 2-night, whatever it is crossover. If the baddies dehydrate Nate, like how that's going to become a pivotal. Like the entire story hinges on that.
Yeah, maybe.
It was interesting to see him try because the sound effect was there, but nothing was happening. So I was like, was there?
That was
I like
funny.
it. In the closed captions, we had like metal creaks. Metal steel creaks.
So it sounds like it would be uncomfortable if your body was trying to do that and was making those noises as it was trying and failing to replace itself with metal.
I like the idea that only the part under his clothes were kind of metalling up, and then it just kind of goes away, so it doesn't quite reach the outer skin. So his like belly is metal, but nothing else, and he's like, oh no, just can't steal up all the way. Got a heavy.
We do see though that that Nate can steal up enough though to protect Maya
Yeah.
there, and so he will be one to be tied up, shot up by PT Barnum, and PT gets a little bit into it. He loves just shooting a gun at a guy that's bulletproof.
I mean, wouldn't you?
That's fun.
That's
I
true.
would love
Back,
to
I
do
think back
that.
then, yeah.
After the first bullet ricochets, though, I feel like I might stop, or at least put him further away from me in a field.
Yeah. At least like, oh, this is dangerous for me.
He didn't
Yeah.
even take a step back.
Nah, he just kept dodging them. Like,
I'd just put like a helmet on, maybe a little bulletproof vest, and then start doing it. You know, you got to protect yourself.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
do see though that Maya doesn't like this though, loses control, and this is something we saw last episode too when she tried to use the totem.
Yeah, this is one thing. This is my minor beef. We saw it. They didn't see it. So there was all these points where she broke through the thing and then like, it looks like she's going to kill him. And I kept thinking like, what? Why do you think that? Why do you think that she's going to kill them? I feel like they're going to, that she's just going to like hit him.
Yeah.
But I never got the sense, if you've worked with someone for a whole season of television and then you've seen them defeat people by turning into an animal, I feel like you know when they're going to stop. So it's a bit odd.
Although I think the only thing that was different here is this time when she uses the totem, since it's kind of acting kind of funky, her eyes stayed blue.
Yeah, so maybe they saw enough of the like her hulking out that they're kind of afraid. Okay, all right.
Maybe.
It just felt to me like it was very like, oh, she's out of control, and how could you really tell?
Well, as we learned by the end of the episode, when she does reveal everything to everybody,
Yes.
he says, you're you're not just a hero. You finally become a freak and a misfit.
She's now a freak and a misfit like the rest of them.
Look at that.
You know, I do kind of like that she has to get. I kind of like this arc that they're going to explore because I think it gives her reason to stay with the legends because she needs to get this under control, and if she knows that maybe she'll turn on her actual like village if she stays there, and she's worked with the legends before, and it's kind of a safer place to kind of freak out if something happens. So I thought that was a good reason for her to stay, at least.
And two, she, you know, had that relationship with Nate, but her relationship with Sarah and Mick and some of the other people on the ship is also like safe for her, and they've been through similar things. So I'll be surprised if they don't bring up at least her and Sarah, you know, kind of going through a friendship because Sarah's been in the same boat before.
Right.
She's got to check herself before she wrecks her village.
Really wrecks herself.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
I do want to, before we move on, I also want to talk about that little fight between Agent Sharp and
Yes.
and White Canary there. I thought that actually was a nice little fight, and it makes me wonder if they are building up tension beteen those two.
Oh, yeah.
There
I
was that
pretty
moment.
sure
It
they were
took
gonna do
Sarah
it.
a good minute to headbutt her.
Yeah, there was a nice little like closeness there, and I want to see that develop.
Yeah,
I like that.
I was intrigued by that. And of course, we got Gary again.
Yeah, and that's what I want
Yeah,
to talk about.
everybody's all
I
like,
want to talk
Gary.
about my excitement that we are setting up the Gary spinoff this early in the season.
That's right.
Yeah, the
They're
entire
gonna,
chat has been talking about
Yeah,
it
they're
the
gonna
whole
flash
time.
it. We're
Yeah.
setting him up now. We're gonna
Yeah.
get him for a few episodes, and then mid-season
What-
they're gonna be like Gary.
Yeah, what's it gonna be called? It's just gonna be called Gary in Time.
It could be like
Gary
Gary, Agent of the Time Bureau doesn't have the exact ring that I'm looking for, but something in that direction.
Gary, Indiana. It's just about his adventures in Indiana. Gary can't get out of Indiana.
Or
What's
like
he gonna do?
if he screws up one time too often at the Time Bureau and they send him, like, you know how like the FBI will send people to Alaska to punish them, they send him to Indiana where they assume this is the most boring, anachronism-free town ever. You're just stuck there as a punishment till you can get it together. And then all of a sudden weird stuff starts happening in Indiana.
And then it's
Pop.
Erie, Indiana. On
Pop.
Fox this fall.
Shout out.
It looks like things are about to get a little Gary.
If this doesn't become a thing now, you have failed, Internet.
I do want to give one other shout out to a line that happened early in the episode when they're deciding which anachronism to tackle. They consider 1912 and the Titanic, and then Victor Garber gets a moment like, whoever built that shit should be shot.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah,
I do kind of wish they waited till Billy Zane was around and been like, yeah, I agree. Or something.
I don't know what that is,
Did he-
but I agree.
Did he play the guy who built the Titanic? Victor Garber? Is that
Yes.
what his
Yeah.
character was?
Yeah.
I built a great ship, Rose.
I just
That was my Victor Garber in Titanic. Everybody. Thank you.
I thought for a second you said bros.
Bros.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, that was him. He was just talking to all those upper crust
British
guys.
sweet
Hey,
boat,
bros.
my dude.
you guys just sailing, bros. It's unsinkable, yo. Brah, 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 brah. No iceberg's gonna hit this. Check it. Check it, bro.
As always, it's always nice to get some tips there from our person in the studio or in the engineering booth. And Becca gave us a heads up. If you love your Billy Zane, and Lord knows that we all do,
Okay.
he's been in AfterBuzz once before.
Yeah.
So feel free to
Google
go on
Billy Zane
AfterBuzz,
Yeah.
and you can have a sweet sweet conversation.
It's like I still feel his presence.
That's true.
Well, it is Tuesday the 17th.
There you go. So we
It's
end
a
the
psych
episode.
reference. Billy Zane was a big part of psych. Sorry,
I
Lex
see.
did not understand.
I got
this.
it. That
I
one
did.
went over my head.
Yeah.
The anachronism has been taken care of. The Sabretooth is back. We've got Gary. His circulation hopefully is going to return to his limbs. And we do get during the conversation between Sarah and Sharp about the big threat that's looming.
Big threat.
But we can't tell you because
Who's it gonna be?
it's need to know.
Oh.
But
they don't
we
even know
know.
yet.
We know because we hear things that those misfits don't hear, and we know it's Malice and Alex Mack over there, Kawasu, who we see at the very end come out of a lake.
Yes,
And I
she's
love
summoned.
that sweet reference
By
there,
like
Alex.
hood cloak person, cloak
Yeah.
alien cloak lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what looks like we're building up is it's going to be time traveling superheroes, sci-fi people versus a big bad magic person.
That's
what
why.
it feels like.
But it also seems like the big bad magic person is recruiting.
Yes,
No,
so
right?
other big bad magic people.
Yes, and we know too. We've known since before the season started that they were bringing back Damien Dark,
Yeah.
apparently in a far more magnified and sinister capacity than we saw him
Yes.
previously.
So do you think Damien Dark is Malice?
No, only because we're so familiar with that character already, and I think he works best when he gets to play off of other villainous people that are more or less at his level. I feel like whoever Malice is, whatever Malice is just putting together like their Toon Squad.
Yeah.
And maybe like Damien Dark is point guard on the Toon Squad. He's
Basically,
the Bugs.
Malix is, crap, what was it? From the Flash last season that we kept mixing up.
Savitar?
Yeah, no. God, come on, guys,
Big
help me out.
baddie
Yeah,
guy.
no, the guy with the hood that we
Dr.
were like, is
Alchemy?
it for me? Yes,
Alchemy.
alchemy. I was
Alchemy
like,
and
it's
alchemy.
one of those words, and I can't get it out. Yeah,
Well, my
basically recruiting everybody.
I'm going to guess because we've also been told that Damien Dark's daughter is going to be on the season. I'm going to say that she's the one in the cloak.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be my guess.
Can I ask? Yeah, this is kind of prediction, so you might as well do the prediction-y thing.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, this is the predict. Oh.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So let me ask you, Mr. Encyclopedia Frank Ganica over here. Do you recognize any of these names, like Malice and
Quasso.
I feel like
Owasso?
Malice, I should recognize. That does sound familiar, but I didn't look it up yet. Owasso, I don't know what your deal is. I'm curious to find out what that is.
It says she was in the CWC Vixen show already. The Kuasa was, so that's
Interesting.
already been established in the trajectory. I need to watch.
Well, and they could
all
also,
that.
even with a character like Malice, who it sounds like they're setting up to be the big bad of the season, they could be doing what they did with the character of Damien Dark, who was the big bad of Arrow Season 4, is now a big part of this universe, but they essentially created this character from whole cloth. There is a Damien Dark from the comics, but I want to say, Frank, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's like one issue of one comic ever.
Yeah, it's definitely different interpretation. What they've done on the show is vastly different. It's basically one of those, we'll take the name and do our own spin on it.
Yeah, so this could be one of those.
Yes.
Could be.
And especially when you're entering the idea of like the family and now having his daughter kind of step up in the ranks and kind of follow in daddy's footsteps.
Right.
So I feel like we're going to be seeing her at some point from the future because the last we saw, I mean, she's like 7 or 8 in the last season of Arrow that he was on.
How old will she be now?
Damn.
Also, there are a couple people in the chat talking about how they're looking all over the DC wiki and cannot find anything for Malice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking that maybe the Damien Dark's daughter probably does make the most sense because this may be going along with something and sort of recruiting like Alchemy was on the Flash, these big bads and.
We also got we're talking about magic people showing up. We also have to talk about how your favorites
I know.
pop up.
John Constantine will be in episodes 9 and 10. I mean, because when you need a magic, you need to call the Master of the Dark
When you
Arts.
need a magic boy,
Yes.
he's the magic boy that comes.
All right, Dave.
Oh, wow.
That was sexy. Hashtag magic boy.
Magic
the
boys.
magic boy that comes.
Yes.
If this is turning into a more magical bent this season, I'm hoping that we get to explore more of the mystical side of the DC universe. And we get to see like Zatanna. I'd love to see her. in.
Yeah.
Me too.
that would be
and,
fantastic.
Dr. Fate.
Oh, I mean, especially since we saw his helmet in Constantine.
And Constantine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like 3 times, guys.
I want Etrigan. That's
Yes.
what I want.
That would be
That would
cool.
be so
And
good.
yeah, I want
Demon
Etrigan. I want to see Deadman also. But my assumption is, although they're playing with Constantine on TV now, I would have thought if it was you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, well, they're never going to get to touch those characters because they've been developing a Justice League Dark movie forever. But they're playing with Constantine, so you'd think anything that they can pull off on their budget, it should be fair game. I would hope.
I also think it's kind of a cross promotion if they use those guys. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like they've already established that anybody you'd put in the TV universe, they're not going to be the ones that are going to be in the film universe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like why not let both sides be able to use these same characters?
Are they building a Justice League Dark live action, or is it a
Yes.
is it
Yeah.
animated? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they've been working on it for a while.
Because Guillermo del
Yeah.
Toro was originally going to do it.
Long time. And then I
he
think
left.
Doug Liman was attached to it most recently, but I
Yeah.
think
He
he's
left.
off
He
it
dropped
now, too.
out as well.
Oh, that's always great signs, right
And
there.
Zeus B. Lou says they want Swamp Thing, and I was like, yeah. At the end, I was like, I know it's not Swamp Thing, but it made me feel like I needed Swamp Thing to be there.
I would love Swamp Thing.
Tell me though, would you rather see Swamp Thing as a man in suit, or would you want him to be like a CG creation?
Well, in a world where we could do King Shark and Gorilla Grodd, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we could pull off a pretty decent Swamp Thing.
I think he needs to be sometimes CGI, sometimes not. I think he needs to be able to kind of condense himself so he's a guy in a suit. And I think it should be a good guy in a suit. There was the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s and
Swamp
90s.
Thing
the
was really
Ray
good.
Wise and
Yep.
Adrian Barbeau.
Yep.
And Louis
I
Jourdan.
loved that movie.
And they did a syndicated TV show for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could get a good one, but then he extends his hand and he gets all like CGI. I think
Yeah,
that's fine.
I'd like to see that. It'd be cool to see what a man in suit could do.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like it's only gotten more sophisticated since back in the 80s and 90s when they were doing that stuff.
right.
And I feel like he'd look more like the Wrightson version, which I always kind of like that version, which was kind of what the TV and the movies were kind of based off of.
Yes.
Wow, that was a great way to end this show.
Yeah.
Great way.
It's good to end with a little bit of Swamp Thing.
It's always good to end
That
the
was
Swamp
that
Thing.
pregnant pause in the middle of the Legends Tomorrow show let you know, like, oh my gosh, we're getting played off.
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
really gotta go.
Oh, dear.
that's going to do it for this episode of the Legends of Tomorrow After Show, but the fun doesn't stop here. It merely gets started. You can like us on Facebook. Give us those 5 stars, not just for us on iTunes, but also, for most importantly, Lex Michael.
He needs to live.
He needs it, and we need him. Thanks, everybody, for hopping in the YouTube channel. You can YouTube chat. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Gives us some thumbs up while you're there as well, too. And if you want to continue the conversation with any of us after the show is off the air, Lucretia, where can you find it?
Since I'm Lucretia Lyon, guys, you guys can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And yes, there is a Supernatural After Show, and we will be on Sundays at 9 p.m. here on AfterBuzz TV in this same channel, the Sci-Fi Supernatural. I forget all the names, but it's got that stuff in it. And also, I did a podcast with Lex and your buddy Tari J about Jason Lives. So check that out. It's called Missing Out on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever.
It's like all the places,
Yeah,
like the Google Plus store. It's on all the podcast stuff now. We're very excited. Yeah, I do a show with Tari Miller, who you may know from some of these other AfterBuzz shows. It is called Missing Out. We share with each other bits of media that we've experienced that the other one has not. Like Lucretia said, we just had her on. We're doing horror movies all month. She came and talked Jason Lives with us. You can check that out. Follow us on Twitter at Missing Outcast. And I am also all over social media at TheLexMichael here at AfterBuzz on Supergirl. I will be back to Supergirl in a couple of weeks. Also do Comic Book Exchange on Book Circle Online with Lucretia and Frank. And that's my
Dave,
bit.
if you ever
And
wants to come.
can we watch you? Can we watch you in your kitchen with Tari doing this live?
No, it is audio only. But you can hear us talking to each other, to Lucretia, and in fact, our next episode, which we will be recording this very week,
mention it at all.
this very week, we will be talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare with our good friend, Mr. Dave Child.
Yay, me now. You can find me at mrdavechild, davechild.com. I'm also on Game of Thrones weekly, but I do it monthly. So you can catch, I just did last Sunday where we talked about all the monsters of Game of Thrones. You can also catch last month where I talked about all the swords of Game of Thrones. So I'm the real deep geek guy of the group. So you'll see me there next month, and I can't wait for your podcast. And I'm all over the place. So just follow me at mrdavechild and davechild.com.
Next month we'll be talking about like all the saddles that they used.
Yes, specifically footwear.
Footwear.
We're going to be talking about all the shoes of Game of Thrones.
Oh my gosh.
Wait for his
Dude,
hour on
can I be on
brooches,
that
you
one?
guys.
Oh, it's going to be good.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Of course, as Lucretia and Lex mentioned, we get the Comic Book Exchange. Dave Child's going to join us tomorrow, too, because we're going to be talking about the new DC direct animated film, Batman versus Two-Face.
Yes.
With
We
William
just can't
Shatner.
get enough of each other.
And we don't want you to get less of us, so we want to give you more of us, right?
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
More than you can handle. More than probably you
You're going to
want.
get sick of us.
So yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll see you back here next Sunday night or next Sunday night.
Yeah.
Join us Sunday
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, we do those other
We
shows
won't-
then.
we won't be
We'll
here.
probably be here
Yeah.
Sunday night.
We'll be doing other stuff.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday. We'll be here Tuesday.
We'll be here Tuesday night, right here at 10 o'clock on AfterBuzz TV for another episode of the Legends of Tomorrow After Show.
Swamp off.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments and questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Westward, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Swap off. Why not?
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.